Yo, 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 what is going on? Once again, it is your boy Mal, and we back at it at another episode of Behind the Panels. Today, we got special guest Todd Rayner on here, man. We talking about his dope project. It's called Luke Bloody Tooth. Kickstarter campaign is actually out right now, so make sure y'all look into that. And we also talk about his other series and his whole expanding universe. And we also talk about what makes a comic sell, variants and all that good stuff. But, you know what I mean? Before we get to that, don't forget to check out the website, villainarchives.com. Don't forget to check out the merch, you know what I'm saying, the shadowrack.shop. And, you know, if you ain't been paying attention, you know, keep a close follow. The Kickstarter for Chaos Theory issue 3 is dropping. And I also got some more things in the works. But on that note, man, let's get it on with today's episode. Joining us today, folks, we have Todd Rayner here with us. We're going to talk about his new projects and a couple other things we got cooking up. And I'm finally glad to have him in here. I've been trying to get him. We've been talking like 2 months. And
yeah,
like,
it's been a little while.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, now it's almost April. Let's get him in here. So yeah, man. Before we get started, you know, introduce yourself and we can and your project a bit.
Yeah. Todd Rayner, I am the kind of the man behind Dark Space Studios, which is my own publishing company. My wife and I formed it in 2022, and basically I publish my own comic books that I write. I've drawn several of them, and I work with a few other artists to get some art out there in other books. But my most recent book is Luke Bloody Tooth, and it is my take on fairies and vampires in Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay, yeah, I peeped the Kickstarter, and I've been seeing, I see all the posts you've been putting up for the past couple months, and I'm like, I'm interested. I really want to dig into that. And I see the other books on your website, Annabelle, like the artwork, everything I'm seeing here, Ice Pick looks insane. I'm curious about that too. Like everything looks great.
Thank you.
Oh my God, man, this looks very amazing. So yeah, man. Like, where do you come up with the ideas? They just come to you, or?
Yeah, so Ice Pick is really the first story I did. I did the entire book myself. So I would write, draw, color, letter, everything, all 4 issues.
Oh wow!
And I realized I started, kind of creating Ice Pick when I was a teenager. So mid-teens. Did some terrible artwork back in the day. As teenagers, we draw and it's not looking good all the time. And I grew up as a fan of late 80s, early 90s artwork. So once that image boom hit, those guys really inspired me to push forward and keep doing artwork and keep making stuff. So that's really where Ice Pick came from. And Annabelle and Luke are the other 2 main characters in my universe, which Ice Pick's the first appearance of all 3 characters, and Ice Pick tells his story. So it's like a throwback to 90s superhero, over-the-top action, revenge. We travel to the 9th circle of hell. Like, it's just insanity. It's a lot of fun.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah, a lot of fun. There's demons, and there's an angel that shows up in there, it's basically Ice Pick's story. So his name is Adam, and it really, I dive into the 4 issues to tell the origin story, to tell, how he got his powers, what he's doing, why he's out for revenge, and, some of the villains that he meets along the way, right? And Annabelle is his fiance, Adam's fiance, and I wanted to tell her story, so I came up with Annabelle.
Okay.
And, I love supernatural creatures. I love, just that world of, Wendigos and dragons and fairies, vampires, all that stuff. So that's what I write. I write a lot of fantasy type of stuff or sci-fi, a little bit. And Annabelle's her story. So 4 issues to really, expand on who she is, kind of her history, her background, and she gets kidnapped by a dragon. So if you like dragons, I got dragons in that one.
I can see the dragon on. I'm looking at I'm at the site right now, and I'm looking at the covers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do all the art for the covers. I do the main cover A. That's all my artwork, and then, with the learning curve that I kind of experienced with Ice Pick, I felt that it was just taking me way too long as a individual person making a comic, right? And I had tremendous fan support. I would do shows out here in the Pacific Northwest and got a lot of good fan support. So I was like, I love this fan support. I'd love to do more books. I have more ideas. Let me see if I can kind of like get an art team in here. And was able to find Sergio, an inker and a colorist. And, I still did the writing and the lettering. I do all the main covers. And it seemed to go a lot quicker. So we're talking like 3-4 months. I was able to get a book out versus the 9-10 months that it took me.
I was going to ask you how long. I know it's got to take like almost a year if you do it everything on your own.
Right. 100%. And I ended up, I had a full-time job. So, I mean, it was like a hobby, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like I was doing a disservice to the fans. And they supported me. And I was like, this is my way I can, bite the financial bullet a little bit and kind of give them more, right? Sooner. So, yeah.
That's what's up. And how's that been going for you? Like, convention wise, like, do you get a lot of, a lot of good sales at conventions and things like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think because now I have, I do maybe 2 to 4 conventions a year. There's a few, but with conventions, it's hit or miss. I would do more. If I knew I was going to get into them, I'd do more out here. But unfortunately, a lot of them are going towards being curated, and then it's a crapshoot whether you get in or not. There's a couple that I've done, and like I know the people that run the show, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you're no matter what, you're being every year." I'm like, "All right, cool." But it's nice to have something new. So, sometimes when I did conventions with Icebook, it's like I'm only on page 20. And a show's coming up and it's not finished, but now I got like 2 or 3 issues for every convention that I'm working. It worked out. It worked out really good.
Yeah, that was a big thing with me too when it came to conventions. Like, man, I just got one book, one story. Like, is this convention worthy? Like, I gotta make money. Like, I spent money to be here. Can I do that off one book? So, I try to stretch myself. I mean, I only write. I couldn't draw to save my life at all. I leave that to you guys. Yeah, more power to you. But I try to have at least 3 projects done a year. You know what I'm saying? And, I just recently got back into the swing of things. I took a big pause to focus on, my education and, trying to get this crazy thing up here back on track.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So, now that I'm back, balls to the wall, I'm trying like 5 projects now coming out. I want to have them all done by this year because, convention scene, I would like to do, 4, maybe 5. Try to stay away from the big ones because at the end of the day, people are just going there for the celebrities that are there. You're not, and you're going to spend this absurd amount of money to hopefully make a couple of dollars, and it ain't worth it,
Right.
But as far as like, Kickstarters and things like that, is that how you usually, promote your stuff, or do you do like any direct sales to the consumer, like through your website or anything? Like, what works better for you?
Actually, all of the above. And I'm actually looking at the end of the year to get into distribution with Icepick. So, it's going to be kind of like all 3. I definitely have made sales off the website. I think for fans that, in between Kickstarters, if they see something I'm promoting or they see something that I'm working on, it's like, oh, where can I get more of this? And, they go to the website and all the books are available on the website. I have some original art as well, because fan art, people love fan art. So,
that
you got to have some of that.
That and posters, I feel people love. One, I feel like because the posters are, they're cheaper. You could throw them on a wall, and everybody always wants like original art. Like something hand drawn by somebody. People always love that. Yeah,
and that's what I sell actually. That's what makes up a good amount of at least a dollar amount of sales for conventions is original art. I'll sell 2-3 pieces sometimes at a show. And so you can get everything on the website with this current Kickstarter. And I do, quite a bit. I literally launch all my books through Kickstarter. That gives all the fans, in a way, it's like a pre-order. It's a first look, a first chance to get the book before it goes on the website, before it goes, potentially in stores. And, so there's a little bit of a premium there, but you're also getting with Kickstarters, you're getting a lot, right? Any stretch goals you end up getting, you get, digital download as well. So I think there's more value in Kickstarters than just buying a regular book at a store. But still support those stores because I do.
Yeah,
I mean, get out
absolutely.
there and but that's my primary way is Kickstarter and via the website.
Oh yeah, because I'm launching my first Kickstarter. I never did Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Never did. Some reason I always went just direct to the consumer. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm starting over again. Well, not starting over, more like finally picking up where I left off.
Yeah.
Let me try the Kickstarter route. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And see how that goes. And, I've just been putting everything together in the back end. I'm like,
it's a
I
lot.
hope this goes well. I'm like, I hope this goes well.
It's a lot of work.
I'm so nervous.
It is. In my first one, I was really nervous too. The first issue of Ice Pick did not do a Kickstarter for. I literally just, like you said, direct a customer at a convention, and was pretty surprised on how many people liked it. So I was like, all right, let's go a wider base, I should say. And I think issue 2 was Indiegogo, but then from issue 3 on, I think it was Kickstarter.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just like, oh man, I just want to make some money here so I can continue with the rest of it, because this is an expensive thing to get into, and not just comics. Any project you put in together, whether it's a book or a novel, a game, if it's coming out of your pocket, it's a lot. So you want to try to, that's why now with the Kickstarter, I'm just like, crossing my fingers. The book's done. I already got the book done.
Nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't go on Kickstarter unless I have the project in hand. All I got to do is just print up some copies, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now as far as putting your books together and cover art, like, do you do any? How many variants do you usually do, and do you usually go with different artists? And does the price differ from cover A to cover B to C, or
Yeah. So for Ice Pick, I did. I usually do about 3 or 4 different covers, and then sometimes I'll do variations of those covers. So you'll have like a regular cover with all the cover dressing, the logo, and all that fun stuff, and then I'll do a virgin cover. I really like doing those with just the artwork, nothing else. I know for Annabelle, I ended up doing kind of like a spicy cover, like an NSFW cover. So I had kind of like 3 variants of those covers, because I'd have a regular cover, a virgin of the regular cover, and then kind of more of a spicier cover. But typically I try to stick around, 3 covers. And I always like if there is an interior artist, I always have them do cover B. And then, I always say I'm a fan first. So like having social media friends and all the artists out there, a lot of them are just very humble and welcoming to do cover art. So if I can afford it, I go out there and I'm like, hey, you're willing to do a cover for me? And they're like, this is what I charge. And it's like, okay, I can afford that. That's not breaking the bank yet. And I've seen so much love since I've been back on Facebook, back in the groups, and getting back into swing of things, man. One thing I never forgot is just how humble the community can be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm working with this one cover artist. I was like, man, how much do you charge? Like, I don't charge. I'll exchange for, give me some copies, some artist editions. You pay my colorist, boom, boom. And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah.
Artwork's amazing. And they're like, yeah, man, that's just how I do. And then there's a few artists that I know that are like, I just give me books in return. I'm like, wow, yeah, I could do that. I could do that all day. You know?
Exactly.
Especially for like some great, like I said, I'm not an artist. So, and just some great caliber artwork. It's like, wow, all you want is just some books? Wow, hell yeah, man. That's, because I know it's a lot of work to sit there and draw and, and to take out, some time out of your day to be like, no, man, I'm not going to charge you. That's, I don't even have a word for that, man. It's just, the community could be so awesome, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's, sometimes I feel like it's, when you start in the market and put your things out, sometimes the fans just kind of hate a little bit, just comic fans in general. I feel like we love deeply and we hate even
just as deeply,
you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and it could be nerve-wracking sometimes, especially the first time you're putting your work out there, like, in your opinion, because you've got several books out, what do you think makes, what's that first impression you think that a comic buyer is looking for? Whether it's at a convention, you know, or you got your stuff at a shop or something, like, what do you think is going to grab their attention first to be like, wow, hold up, what's that? Just looking at, you know, first glance, I want to pick up this book. You know, what do you think is most important there?
That's a tough question because I mean, so I've been a professional designer for like 18 years, went to school for it. So I understand a lot of the kind of nuances of good design, right? Logo placement, colors, just something that's visually striking that is going to catch someone's attention. I think for Ice Pick, for me, it was about what's cool. You know, and when I walk up and down, you know, in the comic shop and I'm looking, there's titles that I look at and I'm like, oh, I always get that title, so I'm going to pick it up. But, you know, there's times where I literally pause at a cover and I'm like, that looks sick. So I got to check this out. So I flip through it. I'm like, okay, you know, at first stop, you know, and I know like those that know Todd McFarlane, he came out and said he could have like his dog write a book and he do the art, you know what I mean? But there's a part of that is 100% true. That
it is.
And I know a lot of like you said, like we're passionate in a good way and kind of in a bad way equally, right? So, you know, because the artwork, if you have really good artwork, it's going to get someone's attention. Plain and simple. There's no argument there. And yes, do you need good interior artwork? Absolutely. But there's been bad stories that have been told with good art and they still keep going. You know?
Exactly. And it's because I feel like, you know, especially if they're doing the variants, you know what I'm saying? They got 4 or 5 variants and especially by, you know, known big artists, even if they're, you know, independently known, they're gonna sell. So they're definitely going to sell.
So, I mean, to answer the question, I think it's something that is, I would say, visually striking, but for me, it's just that cool factor. Does that look cool? I'm going to get it, you know?
Yeah.
And check it out.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm the same way when it comes to collecting.
Yeah.
You know, if I come across something, I've never even read the story, never heard of it, but the cover, I'm like, whoa, hold up, that cover is nice. You know? It's that first impression, and I feel like, I mean, my opinion, that's the most important thing, especially being independent. You know, Marvel could put out anything tomorrow, and people are gonna buy it because it's Marvel. DC could put out anything, like Todd McFarlane said. He could draw a cover and have a dog write. He could put out blank comic book, no pages in it.
Yeah,
it's gonna sell because he did the artwork, the name. And then the artwork, you know, and I feel like those two combined, sadly, it's gonna sell. You know,
and then there's like kind of, I guess, the exceptions to the rule where, or you know, maybe the thing that we strive as independent creators is, you know, you want a balance between good art and, you know, a good story, right? So, I would say I agree that the art sells the book. But the story is what keeps people from coming back, right?
That's going to keep them getting issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, regardless of the cover. Because now they're like, wait, story is...
And I've done that. I've stopped buying comics because the story was not that... It fell off. And I'm like, okay, where's this going? Absolutely. Nowhere. So why keep buying it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I feel. I mean, a nice, pretty thing to grab the attention, but you know, I can't have a dog write my story. I want them to get the second issue, third issue. Even on the next project, they're like, wait, they had a great first run with that other story. Let me see what they got going on now. So, you know, and sometimes I'll notice a couple of, there's not too many, but a few where they focus more attention on the cover art than the interior art. You know, and I'm like, you kind of get, the cover art gets them to look at it. The interiors is what keeps them locked in for the length of you know, of what you got going on, because you're gonna just be spending a lot of money at that point if your story doesn't hit, you know, you know, and you know, and it's weird because you know you've got comics where they just got 100 variants in just one story, but people buy them. People buy them.
And that's why I like to offer some variants. Because I'm such a fan, I like working I like seeing a lot of different art and working
Yeah.
with different artists. You know, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
that looks really cool. Like, okay, what do you charge for a cover? I want to have you do my next. And people have just been super receptive. And there's artists that I continue to work with that like they do such a fantastic job of like kind of bringing my characters to life that it's like an open door. Like if they got time, they're always going to do a cover for me.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just have so many. If I could put 1,000 different variants together and
Oh,
just give
yeah.
them away, I would love
Absolutely.
to. I just love art. I love to see something beautiful that a friend of mine, an artist that I hired, put together. It's like, wow,
Yep.
this is mine. I got like 1,000 more ideas, but.
Yeah.
Try to keep it limited because I've seen people that just oversaturate with their variant.
Right.
Marvel and DC do it all the damn time. They'll put like 30 variants to one issue, and it's just like, do I need to buy all 30 variants? Like, Jesus
Right.
Christ, the market is just insane. Like everybody wants this
Yeah.
one and that one. I just want something that looks pretty,
Yep.
Whether
And,
it's
and retailers do that too, right? Now
Yeah.
you're seeing a lot of retailer variant covers.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
like-
yeah. That's kind of how I learned the game. Like I came into the comic book game because I was friends with the Comics Elite and Clan McDonald and those family. Those are my families. You know what I'm saying? So before I got to make comic books, I got to see the retailer side of things, and that's kind of where like I feel like the retail variant started like to kick in, and I got to experience that. So I kind of try to take a little bit of that sauce and mix it in with what I got going on without the oversaturation of having like 30 variants to one comic book, which is just insane. We got one for $5 and then the one for like $300. Just because like one color is different, it's like great. That's an extra $75. Just because this one has a green shirt on and not a red shirt. Like, damn it, now I need that one.
Yep.
Like,
Agreed.
It's
That's
it
too much.
gets complicated for especially new creators coming on with not knowing what to expect. Having a first Kickstarter, like what do I? Because even the Kickstarter, first impressions, you got to have something more than just that one offering to kind of entice somebody. And I'm trying to, what do I offer these guys? That's gonna, because this is also a business.
Right.
It's a
Absolutely.
business. I gotta make money too. I put in a ton of money, so I gotta make something too. So how do I get them to invest in someone who they don't know? You know what I'm saying? And why should they give me $75 for this package of like 8 comic books? You know what I'm saying? So it's just the psychology of it is just insane. Just trying
I try not to think too much about it because you're right. It'll drive you mad.
Oh my God. I sit here too. I work all day and then I come home and I work all night. And I'm sit here like, damn, you know what? I need to do something else. Like, what else can I add? I'm Googling this, I'm Googling that, and trying to make it relevant to the comic too. I'm not going to offer something stupid with an action comic book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, trying to figure out what matches to, I want that. That's cool. Like, I'm thinking bandanas and this and that. I'm just like, I think I'm overthinking at this point. And I feel like that's something that we have an issue with, especially in the beginning, that, we've never put a Kickstarter together. We don't know it's going to work. You've kind of, you've had some success and, you already got your flow going. So it may be easier to those that already kind of done it a few times and hit a few times opposed to, us newbies.
I definitely had ups and downs. There's no doubt about it. I've had some, Kickstarters do really well, and then some do not so well. I still get funded, but they're definitely at the lower scale of that funding goal. And I've tried a lot of stuff too, T-shirts and bookmarks and lanyards and all kinds of swag type of stuff. But, for me, it seems like my fans specifically like the books, right?
Yeah.
They like the trade paperbacks that I offer or some of the variant covers. They know that, like, hey, if Todd's doing a book, like Courtney Rose is going to be one of the artists probably, Nick Caponi's been another artist. So, like, they're fans of that artwork and they like my character, so they end up picking up that variant cover. It's the first Kickstarter was a little like nail biting. You know, it definitely was a little stressful. But
like,
offering a variety of different covers helps. Offering, like you said, relevant things. You know, if there's a character that wears a bandana, I mean, absolutely, a bandana would be something to offer, right? I've seen people
now
do
I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I've seen people do like cards, like decks of cards is something, or a tarot card if you're into that kind of stuff, a poker chip. I mean, like, for me, when I started, before I did my first crowdfunding campaign, I researched the hell out of everything. Like, I just have like 50 Kickstarters, and I'd go in there and look at them and see what they're offering, see how much they made, see what covers they offer, what's the artist that they're using. You know, I would like creep on a lot of Kickstarters to do that
that's
research.
What I've been doing.
Yeah.
And now you just gave me some more ideas, so that just added to the anxiety.
Yeah.
And later on, like, wait, he said poker chips. Wait a minute, that's kind of relevant.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything that's relevant, it could be a really good reward, you know?
Yeah, like that's, I don't know. I think so much, and I'm just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I could add this, and I could add, wait, that may be illegal. Wait, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I am going to put a Kickstarter together later on in the year for this, 420 friendly story that I'm putting together, and I'm like, damn, can I legally get away with offering marijuana with this comic book? Like, wait a minute, I gotta research the rules on that. You know, just because you're thinking, your mind is everywhere, like how relevant things I could offer, and I'm like, I don't get no more relevant than that. Hold on, let me ask a few people on the legality of, offering this kind of thing. But
depends on the
anyway,
state.
back to your story. You said you started Ice Pick kind of when you were younger.
Yeah.
What did you always have the intention to kind of create a universe and expand, like, with Annabelle and Luke all in one story and multiple, or did that come just as time went by for you?
It definitely, it started in the late 90s, and times were honestly like extremely different than today. The market was a whole different kind of beast. There was no crowdfunding, there was no social media, there was no
the internet
print on
for
demand.
us was barely new. Like, we had AOL chat rooms, what
right,
I'm saying?
that's it. I was part of that, but it's the landscape was so different. And we didn't have print on demand. We didn't have printers that'll say, hey, I'll do 25 copies of your comic book. So as a late teen getting in my early 20s, it was like, you know what? I mean, I drew the original first Ice Pick issue on 8.5 by 11 paper that I kind of cut to the size of a comic book. You know what I mean? Like, I was that ambitious. I was just going to hand make it myself, and not knowing that I could fold pages and staple them. Like, I just had it like individual pieces of paper. And so for me, the idea kind of to have all the characters included and to continue to have these different stories, that kind of evolved later on. Annabelle shows up in my first kind of Ice Pick idea back in high school, in the Ice Pick Definitive Edition trade that's with the Luke campaign and on the website as well. I put in like all my old artwork. So, I mean, it's like maybe 30 pages of old 16, 18-year-old artwork that I mean, when I was like 16, 18 years old. And I put in all that old artwork. You get to see every single thing and how my art has kind of developed and changed, how the characters have developed and changed. And I think it wasn't until I was really, 3 issues in on Ice Pick, and I was like, all right, what's my next idea? What's my next story, right? And that's where I was like, well, I've told Ice Pick's origin, his story, where he came from, what he's, who he is and all that. Let me take 4 issues and tell Annabelle's story. You know, and that was kind of my thought process, was to like, I love issue 0 as like an origin issue, but I kind of felt like sometimes it just wasn't enough for me. Like, I wanted a bigger story. I wanted a little bit more behind the scenes, or like more understanding, more character development. So that's what I ended up doing with Annabelle. And it was just natural for me to tell Luke's story, because those are the 3 amigos in my universe. They are the 3 important characters.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the Kickstarter for Luke, and I like how the artwork, the interior pages, is just black and white.
Oh, crazy!
Like,
I love it.
I feel like it stands out to the story more than opposed to, color variations, and I'm really digging this. Like, I'm
Thank you.
scrolling through right now. Even some of the covers you got going on, I'm like, I really like that. I definitely like that. And this is issue 3 you're releasing, or you're putting 1 and 3 kind of all together offering?
I have everything, honestly. I have like catch-up reward tiers, so digital and in print. So if you just want the PDFs, you got those. If you want physical books, you can get those as well. And Christian Navarro is the interior artist, and oddly enough, I ended up working with him several years ago for another indie comic book company, and I ended up coloring his artwork. And I was like, we're friends, like we follow each other on Instagram, and I was looking for artists for Luke. I knew I wanted to do a horror story. I wanted, obviously, like vampires, fairies, supernatural, but I wanted artwork that holds its own black and white. And not all artwork can do that, right? There's some artwork that it's just different.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I'm looking at it, I'm just like, okay, all right, I like this. I see where this is going. You're right, because it doesn't work for all types of stories. Some if you don't give it that color, it takes away. But this one, I feel like it's just right. Like, that's the chef kiss to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you only got 4 issues for that.
There's only going to be 4 issues, correct? And once that's done, I'll do a trade. Is Ice Pick going to be the main, or they each get like 4 issues and you're doing like a bigger story plot later on? Well, there will be. They basically the kind of elevator pitch with Ice Pick and the characters, the Ice Pick gang, as I like to call them. It's basically their adventures of dealing with supernatural creatures. They don't necessarily. They don't always save everybody. They don't always necessarily save the day, right? Sometimes they're out for their own, motivations. But it's them dealing with and realizing that these things exist, and how do you kind of deal with that as a human being, right? We don't see that in our day-to-day lives. But if we knew vampires were real, how crazy would that be? Or fairies or dragons? So I touch on kind of the real life side of things and how we would deal with these, but it's just them going out having adventures. That's bottom line. That's all it is. 3 people that are friends. 2 of them are engaged, and they're just got superhero powers, and they're going out, doing what they do.
Nice. So what's next after Luke? Besides the 4th issue, like what's next with the story with all 3 of them?
So I'm a huge fan of small casts with very short timeline storytelling. So John Carpenter's The Thing is what always comes to mind for me. Is that's a movie with a small cast. It takes place within a few days, and Ice Pick does that. It's the 3 main characters. Yes, you have a main villain, you have a couple sub characters, but it's relatively a small cast. It's not like X-Men or the Avengers where there's like 30 people. And it takes place within 2-3 days, maybe, a couple days, 24, 48 hours. And, Annabelle issue 1 literally picks up the next day after Ice Pick issue 4, right? And then I tell that story that's only a couple days that takes place. And Luke picks up right after Annabelle issue 4. It's literally the next day. He's going to see, some of the events that happen in Annabelle. He's going to Salem, Massachusetts to do his own thing. And he ends up finding himself in this ancient war between fairies and vampires. And so for me, to kind of give away a little bit of the story, Annabelle... In Ice Pick, Annabelle did not know that Ice Pick was alive. There was an attempt on his life, and they thought he got killed, right? So he kind of keeps that from her, and Luke knows Ice Pick is alive, but she doesn't. And so through the course of that issue, she finds out he's alive, right? But then it's like, oh no, the next day, she finds out her fiance is alive, but then the next day she gets kidnapped by a dragon. And that's her story, right? So then after that happens, then it's like, okay, Luke goes off to Salem, and they're finally able to kind of be a couple and figure things out. And then Luke calls him and is like, hey man, I got this vampire thing going on, and I need your help, right? So then they catch a plane out to Salem. And so the long answer, I guess, is that after issue 4 of Luke, we finally get to settle down with Annabelle and Ice Pick, who his name is Adam. So Annabelle and Adam, finally come home. They finally get to sit down and put on a movie and have a glass of wine and figure out what are we going to do now? You're alive. my fiance's back. How do we have this normal life now that we have like magic powers and stuff?
Yeah.
And this entity shows up in their bedroom, and it's this ghostly figure that reveals why those two souls are connected, why Adam and Annabelle are connected. And it's called Ice Pig Ghost Stories. It's going to be kind of like a standalone issue, but yeah. And then Luke goes back to his apartment, and Cthulhu shows up in his closet. So the mayhem starts all over again.
Okay. All right. Nice. That's what's up, man. I'm digging what you got so far and what you're telling me is going. I'm very
Thanks.
Now I'm locked in. Now
Yeah.
And I hope y'all listening because I expect y'all to follow the Kickstarter. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Yeah.
everything is sounding dope, and if y'all look at the images, they look just as dope. So I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You're absolutely welcome, man. Now, aside from this universe you got going on with the Ice Pick Gang, is there anything else separate you got cooking up in the kitchen for later down the line? Like any other kind of stories like separate from this?
Now, these are pretty much the main characters, the main story. There is another story I started writing after Ice Pig Ghost Story. It probably won't be till later next year, but that deals with another really cool supernatural creature. It comes from like ancient Japan, where it's like this half spider, half woman type of creature, and she kind of runs like a brothel. And Ice Pick and Annabelle kind of stumble upon her. A lot of this is just stumbling upon these creatures and these things, and how can they help somebody in need. That's kind of like another underlining theme, is just being able to like help other people and do those things. So
yeah, no, man, that's now I'm definitely invested. That sounds great. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
like as far as like marketing your stuff, is Facebook your main platform, or do you use other forms of social media, or Facebook's the number one to go to?
Yeah, Meta, I guess, Facebook, Instagram. I'm there with Todd Rayner Art for my personal stuff, and then Dark Space Studio, obviously, for the company side. I do have a TikTok on Dark Space Studios. I don't post a lot there, but I do post some videos and stuff of upcoming Kickstarters and things like that. And I have a YouTube channel for Dark Space Studio as well. And that's basically, that channel is all indie comics focused. It is, people can find a podcast that I host, and I have guests on as well. So, there's that, but there's also a lot of indie comic focused stuff on how I draw my comics, my process, how I write, how I color, inking. The gamut of anything. So if you like indie comic focused YouTube channels, Dark Space Studio is definitely one of those.
Nice. Oh yeah, definitely gonna check that out. Yeah, man, I've noticed, since I came back to Facebook, it's I feel like the biggest community is on Facebook, and it's easier to promote it through Facebook. Like TikTok, yes, there's I've been told there's a lot. Of course, there's a lot of different comic fans and things like that. But I feel like TikTok is just takes a lot more work to put out content because it's video related. People want you gotta make a video or a photo with a song, and it's gotta be. It's not just post, write some stuff and share it. Like as with Facebook and even Instagram, Snapchat. Yeah. I just use that for personal stuff. I put nothing comic book related. I feel like that's weird for Snapchat. I feel like Snapchat is for personal things or things you shouldn't be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think those, but TikTok. I try to promote the music side of what I do more on TikTok since it's easier. The content is already there. The music is there. The videos are there. But Facebook, trying to integrate both forms of entertainment that I do. I do music and comic books, and I'm just trying to work on a big music comic book project next year. But I feel like Facebook is more community based. You got the groups, you've got and things like that, and I feel like the indie community is a lot bigger and a lot stronger than it was even 4 years ago that I was on Facebook. Yeah,
it's bittersweet. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, like I said before, we love heavy and we hate just as much. You know what I'm saying?
Just as much. And you're right.
And I try to tell people that, man, like you're getting into this, you got to have a thick skin. Not everyone is going to love your stuff.
Yeah.
And some people could be ultra critical, and you got to take that with a grain of salt, because they could be trying to tell you something and just coming across asshole-ish. Or, you kind of, it is what it is. But a lot of people just get discouraged, man. I've seen a lot of hateful comments, and I'm just like, why is that necessary? You know, like, it's just some person just trying to follow a dream, man. That's what we all here trying to do, man. We take our time out of work, life, family, try to carve out a little hour to a day to be involved in the hobby, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully make some money,
Yeah, it is. I think it's kind of weird that, like, for Facebook, there's a lot with the algorithm. You hear that term everywhere. Oh, the algorithm this, algorithm. I mean, yes, it's true that there is an algorithm, and it can suppress some of your stuff, but it also can promote some of your stuff. And, for me, it's just like, I gave up trying to figure it out. Yeah, I'm just going to post stuff. I know Facebook doesn't like links, but you know what? I don't have the time to figure out what to do.
I'm just posting it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm posting it to as many places. I can post it without Facebook saying, wait, we looks like you're spamming. Now you can't post for a little while. But, to me, that's how I've always known it. Just post and share all over the place. Somebody's going to see it that way. Someone is in it, with all the groups. There's so many groups now, and I don't know, just trying to get it out there. Sometimes it could be a pain in the ass, especially building up your
community,
building up your following could be difficult sometimes. And trying to get back into it has definitely been a little bit of a headache.
It can be stressful. I like you said, I take it with a grain of salt. I've been marketing a lot for Luke, just a lot on social media, like you said, all the groups and things like that. And, maybe there's something to be said about the success of the book with the marketing. I don't know. But I mean, maybe it's just starting to resonate with folks, and fans are really digging, like, issue 3's out, and they know that, it's consistent, and the books are
it's all about
done.
Consistency too.
Yeah.
Like you said, in the beginning, it took you a year because you did everything on your own, but now you're pumping out more than 1, 2, 3 titles a year. And that's the consistency we, for an independent person, kind of have. We don't have the resources to do monthly books. I mean, some people may. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of them. I'm definitely.
I'd love to get there. I'd love to get there, but
I would love to pump out monthly. It'd be on that Marvel machine that I could pump out issues every month of different things. But knock on wood. Hopefully one day I could put at least 5 out a year. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to do the 2 or 3 a year, just because it's, like I said, it's takes a lot of time, and being independent is not easy. We don't have that machine behind us, the Marvel or the DC. We're doing everything. We're writing, we're drawing, we're marketing, we got all the hats on just to try to at least break even with issue 1 to make issue 2, and issue 2 to make issue 3, and it could be discouraging. And with that, like, can you tell me a time where you've had any horrible things go wrong with what you're trying to put together?
Oh man,
like, something discouraging where it's like, you know what, I'm ready to just stop this crap. This is insane. Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever really felt that. I mean, there's definitely, like, ups and downs, but for me, it's kind of a cliche. With they say it in sports all the time, right? You kind of want to take the highs as they are and don't get too low with the lows, right? Try to stay even keel. And if you have that mindset, like, yes, there's going to be people out there that are not going to like your work. They're going to try to downplay it, and that can be discouraging. That's just, to me, that's the noise of the industry, and I just don't even pay attention to it. Doing conventions, also seeing fans interaction and come up to the booth and buy a book or sit down and talk with me about what's next or what am I looking to work on. Things like that just motivate me. Having a Kickstarter, and for Luke issue 3, it's the first time I ever got funded within 24 hours. So, nice. That's a huge positive for me being like a one-man show in a way, right? So I don't know if I've ever really been like super discouraged. It's just, I think you just have those ups and downs, and it just is
Mm-hmm.
natural. You know, if you kind of fail, you just get back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just keep trucking along. Sometimes I go days without really working on stuff because
Yeah.
it's just like, you kind of like lose that passion or that like daily routine
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
working
Sometimes
on
you need a
stuff.
little, break between
Yeah.
days to kind of reset too.
Hmm.
Like we also don't want to burn out. Because
Right.
we have a regular life, we have jobs, we got
Hmm.
family, we got things we also got to do, and sometimes if having a day off doesn't feel like having a day off if
No.
if you're sitting there working when you're not working.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I never really felt like quitting necessarily. I thought like, what do I do? Is there an end to my stories and an end to my universe that I've created? Will there ever be like a final issue? And I thought about that, but that's more planned. That's something that
Yeah.
like, what
Hmm.
issue is that going to be? What's the story going to be eventually down the road? But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's far and few between where I really thought
Yeah.
about like just throwing in
Hmm.
the towel.
Yeah, I think the first time, well, the only time I wanted to just give up was in the beginning, man. I was going against. Yeah, people was like, you're gonna do a comic book? What the hell do you know about doing a comic book?" I said, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know shit, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yep.
I don't draw. So I went on Facebook and went to those artists groups and found an artist. He had great work and
Hmm.
he spit the right game and scammed me for a couple grand.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, that
And this was
sucks.
my first. This was my
Yeah.
first book, and I'm hyped. And 11 months, I got one page.
No, yeah. That's the business side of stuff. Like that's super
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
Oh man.
it's a common story. Like even me, like early on, it was like I did a lot of freelance stuff before I really did Ice Pick, and I worked for like a lot of companies that aren't around anymore. A lot of companies that just they did like a couple issues and flash in the pan, and that was it, and they threw in the
Yeah.
towel. But I was always really adamant, if I was going to get into making comic books, that it's nowadays it's a little bit easier to kind of research an artist to make sure that
Yeah.
they're doing, turning in work and are able to be consistent on a regular basis. But I always do the like kind of half up front, half on completion type of thing.
Oh yeah. That's
And
the
I'm
only way it
always,
should be.
yeah, and I'm always adamant, like the moment someone turns in a page and they get working on the next series of pages, like they get paid. Like
Yeah.
there's no delay. I've structured my business that way. I've structured Kickstarter so that, even if I only do like, I don't know, five, six, $700, like where we're at, no, I'm not paying for the artist because obviously like it costs more than $700 to make a comic book, but
Oh yeah.
at least that gives me money to print, right? And
Yeah.
and I'm able to sell those books to the fans and give them something for their contribution.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to me I think being at conventions, getting getting fans, strangers you don't know from a hole in the wall, buying your books and showing you love. To me, that at the end of the day, it always makes all the craziness I went through go away. Especially
Yeah.
at a convention. I remember I was at a convention. I think it was in Tucson, New Mexico. This was right after things started opening up after COVID, when conventions started becoming a thing. I did my first convention, post COVID in New Mexico. I don't know anyone I'm from New York. I don't know anyone on that side
Yeah,
of the
that's like
country.
across country.
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. Who the hell do I know? Well, you know what? I'm lying. My cousin does live out there, but I knew he was not well, so he wasn't coming to the convention.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around, and I hear somebody scream like, "Hey, yo, Mal!" I'm like, "Who the hell knows me here?" And then someone was like, "Oh man, like I follow your stuff. Like, where's your table?" And I'm just
Nice.
like, "Wow, that made me feel so." It made me feel so much better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that feeling alone kind of makes all the woes go away. Like, yeah, you go through what you go through. Not everything's gonna go according to plan, but this this end result I can live with, you know?
Right.
And even same convention, it was the end of the night. I think it was my second day there. You know, he had a booth. He wasn't even a comic book artist. He had a tattoo booth.
Okay.
Never seen a tattoo booth at a comic convention, but I was in New Mexico. I guess this is what happens in New Mexico. I don't know.
They happen up here in Seattle. Like, there's a couple conventions. There's a horror convention that's up here. I tabled that, and they had tattoo artists. So, it's a thing.
So I was like, okay. So we're talking, and he's like, man, I was trying to catch you before you leave. My brother, he's a huge fan. I was like, oh, no shit.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking, and, you know, we're getting to talking, and he's looking at the books that I got. He's like, I don't know what I should get him. I said, here. I gave him like 5 books. I said, take it. Tell your brother I said I think it was his birthday. I told him I said happy birthday, man. He's like, are you serious? He's like, nah, I got to give you some money. I was like, nah, man, it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it cost me? A couple dollars to print, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And regardless, you know, here, it's not about the money sometimes. It's about, you know, that connection with somebody. Yep. So I was like, I gave him like 5 books, you know, and he was so in shock. He was like, are you here tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. He's like, pass by my booth, pick a tattoo, I got you.
Oh,
I was
nice.
like, wow. He was like, man, what you just did for me, no one here would do that. He's like, no, I have never been to a spot where someone just gave me something for free. And not that I'm looking for free, but that just shows me how humble you are. And I'm like, man, it's not always about this. In this game, it's not about money sometimes. It's about that connection. Because guess what? Now I just made... Your brother was a fan. Mm-hmm. You didn't know me from nothing. You don't even read comics. But now you're a fan too. So now, you know, you're buying the books. You're buying every time I put out. And you just know how humble I am. And sometimes that's what it's about, you know?
Yeah,
I don't mind giving away a couple things here and there. It's all about you show me love, I'm going to show you all the love in the world.
Yeah,
you know?
it is. It's the people. It's making those relationships, right, and building those relationships. And I think Kickstarter is definitely a way to do that, because I've had people from like Germany and Australia back Kickstarters that I've made. Mm-hmm. So like for me, it's really interesting to kind of just slowly build that. It's like a snowball effect, right?
Yes.
You start tiny and you just slowly start to grow. Some people grow really fast. Don't get me wrong. You know, some people like me, it's taken a while to start to grow, but it'll happen if you keep putting out your stuff and you keep, you stay dedicated. Consistency. I mean, you'll grow, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And now, like you said, you started a long time ago in the 90s where you were stapling paper together. Now we've got so much at our disposal. We don't need to be signed to Marvel. We don't need to be signed. Right. We could do it all our own. We could do a 25 print run. We could do print on demand, you know? We could ship to the other side of the planet if we want to. Like, now we have the same access everybody else has, just not the budget. And I remember this was before COVID. I got a message. I had just released a book. Somebody messaged me. He's like, do you ship international? I'm like, yeah. He's like, listen, I've read a couple of your books. Do you ship to South Africa? I want to buy some, like 2 or 3 books. And I'm like, you're from where? He's like, I'm in South Africa. He's like, I've read like 2 of your issues and I want to read up on some more. Like, I like your stuff. I'm like, how the hell did you read my stuff from out there? It just shows you like the world's a big place, but the technology we have now, we're closer than we were 20 years ago. You know?
Like everybody can be our neighbor.
That just blew my mind. Yeah, that just blows. It blows your mind to know someone on the other side of the planet is like, man, I want to read that. You know, I want to read the next issue Todd Rayner's putting out. Or you know, it's just wow. It is no words for that, man. It just, I feel like that humbles you too. Like, Jesus, it's gonna cost a lot to ship out there, but
I mean, hey, if they're willing to do it, then I'll ship it.
Oh yeah. I mean, the shipping will cost more than the book, but if you really want it that bad, he's like, man. And from that day, I'm like, man, I will never stop. And it's not about, you know, I want to get rich. I want to, you know, I love doing this. You know, this is my form of expression. I like doing it, and it's cool. Who doesn't like comic books? You know what I'm saying? Who doesn't like comic books? You know, everyone got something to say. Everyone got a story, and you know, let's read them. You know, why not? You know, like let's get together. Let's just read some, because I feel like the best stories now are kind of in the independent scene.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
I feel like, you know, the Marvels and the DCs and all the big publishing companies, their companies, they got to make money. But I feel like that's where their main focus is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they give us great stories, but a lot of times they give us great shit.
Yeah.
You know? They give us great shit.
I don't buy anything from probably the top 5 comic companies. Like, I just don't. And for me, like being an indie creator, I'm very selective on what, you know, I support, because I support something that interests me, obviously, right? And there's so much out there, and you know, it's kind of like with great responsibility comes great decision making, and you know, I think I've seen definitely books, and I'm like, how is this even made? Like, how did this get made? Because it just does not. The quality just isn't there, you know, and kudos to whoever creates these, you know, books that because they're passionate about it, right? And with the crowdfunding platforms now, like, it doesn't matter if your art's good, it doesn't matter if your story's good. You can put something out there and have a fan base, and I think that's kind of what the important thing is that you have more opportunity now than ever before to create stuff.
Absolutely. Everything's at our disposal. Even if you're not printing and just doing, you know, webtoons or just straight digital PDFs, like, the world is literally at the palm of your hands, and it's easy to just network with anyone and everyone. You know what I'm saying? And we just got such a bigger opportunity now than before. And I feel like maybe the big guys should pay more attention to the independent scene. You know, like we've got what y'all people really need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fresh, new, creative ideas, period.
Yeah, because, you know, like I said, there's, you know, I don't feel like there's such thing as oversaturation of comic book creators. Stories are stories. You can never have enough stories. Right. You know? Now, you could, you know, I don't want to read 1 billion Batman stories either. Right. But, you know, I'd rather spend the same $50 on like a weekly poll on independent, you know, supporting the Kickstarter, you know, because the stranger I don't know may have some of the best storytelling that I've ever read, you know, and give me that. I'd rather give you that $25 whatever, or, you know, I'd rather invest in the Kickstarter than, you know, than sometimes invest in what a lot of these people are putting out on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you know, it's also kind of like the whole, I guess, the Amazon effect, where, you know, Amazon is so easy to just go on the website, the app, or whatever, and buy a bunch of stuff, right? But then you're buying it from, like, say, even smaller companies. I'd much rather go to that store and pick something out and support them, like, on a store level versus a third party Amazon thing. So, you know, it's the same thing with indie creators. Like, do I want to? Yeah, I love Batman. I love Spider-Man. Obviously, my Batman behind me. But, you know, there's always going to be, you know, a new Batman story, a new X-Men story. Always. And, you know, for fans, I mean, more power to you. Go read those stories. You like those characters. I grew up reading that stuff. And that's what fueled my fire to create my own stuff. But at the end of the day, like, once Image hit and the whole indie scene started to blow up, it was like, I mean, we saw nothing like Spawn when that came out, or Pit, or, I mean, Wildcats. Yeah, it's kind of like X-Men, but no, it's completely different. And Savage Dragon, like, all those, Shadowhawk, all those things came out, and it was like, it just blew my mind. Like, Prophet, Stormwatch, like, these are stories that none of the big two at the time were ever going to touch. You know, they had just such, like, diversity and range, and the stories were different and creative and, you know, over the top, like, just something that just literally jumped off the pages. And so,
agree.
You know, and that's fine. But, like, I think for now, because it's, like you said, we have the same kind of opportunity as the big guys, right? And because of that, like, there's, to me, an explosion of indie creators that kind of have that 90s or that image feel to it, where they're all over the place. They're creative, doing whatever they want. They don't have suits telling them like, oh,
you can't do this,
change this or
that,
change that. Right. So, there's no comics code anymore. I mean, that's a huge thing too. And not to say that, a lot of indie creators are creating like super explicit stuff. That's not the point. Like, we're creating stories that would never be told.
Yeah. We're saying what we want to say, unfiltered, and not saturated. We're expressing our true creative freedom, without someone saying, "Well, you can't say that because you're gonna piss people off." So it's not my fault. People are sensitive.
Exactly.
Sorry, they should have. Maybe they need a better ass whooping when they grew up. No, what I'm saying? Like, if you're hurt by words, I don't know what to tell you. That's
I can't help
problem. That's between you and your therapist. Go hug a pillow. I don't know what to tell you, but and that's what I love about the independent scene.
Right.
You could say whatever you want, and sometimes those are the best stories because
they're real.
You could feel the authenticity coming from the writer, the artist, things like that. Like my next Kickstarter is going to be the 3rd issue of my Chaos Theory series, and it's very graphic. There's I write what I know. I grew up in Brooklyn. I spend a lot of my time on the streets hustling. I seen that side of New York.
Yeah.
There was no metropolis. There was, like, I try to represent New York the way I grew up, the way everyone else sees it. The real New Yorkers see it dirty, dangerous, grimy. And that's what that issue's about. So that series is about drugs. It's about sex. It's about murder. It's about everything corrupt you could think of because it's all true. As a matter of fact, it's funny because the first issue, I spoke about a police captain, a corrupt police captain in the police precinct in my neighborhood, right? Funny. It was one of the most funniest coincidences ever because I know a lot of dirty cops growing up.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, I grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I've known a lot of dirty I was hanging out with a cop. She pulled over a bus. Just cause. I was like, okay. But that's another story for another time. So anyway, I wrote this corrupt police captain into the story, right? And, his backstory was crazy. And then like 2 years later, there was a news report of this police captain in that precinct who got caught up doing something shady. I'm like, That's write funny. What I know, and it was the same precinct, and I'm showing it to my friends. Like, you see, look, this is why I write what I write. It's the reality, and I feel like sometimes you can't even say that with in a Marvel book or something like that because you can't mention certain names, you can't say certain things because you're gonna rub someone the wrong way. Sorry, that the truth is the truth, you know, and that's why. I don't ever say. People ask me, "What would you do if you got signed to Marvel?" I said nothing because I wouldn't work for them. Because then I can't be my true self. You know, I can't write a story about 2 cousins getting high off weed and time traveling and doing stupid things and doing the most craziest, raunchiest things you could think through history because they're gonna say no, you can't say that. That's what this is all about, man. And that's why since I've been back, I've been trying to engage so heavy with the community because we've got so much to offer, man. Like, I feel like we collectively, we could be the big machine. You know what I'm saying? We have the talent, we have the creative expertise, and we got everything they do minus the budget.
Yeah, and you're right. That's a good point, and I would agree with that because I feel that like if Hollywood wants to kind of branch out. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, Hollywood took a lot of risks. There was a lot of B movies that got made. Oh, yeah. And they were fun.
Classics that came out of these low budget films, classic movies.
Right. And I think like, I mean, I know they made money off these movies. No, they weren't making hundreds of millions, but they were making 20, 30, 40 million, whatever. They made a profit. Yeah. And I think we've lost sight of someone that like, oh, I only made $10. Well, you made a profit, dude. Like, take that and be happy about it, and build
Yeah.
next time to maybe you make 20. Now
Yeah.
it's like if you don't make 50 million, $100 million on a movie, it's a failure. And I
Yeah.
feel like the indie community, we have such interesting and creative story ideas. Like, how many of those could Hollywood,
Oh my God.
invest only like a few million, 5 mil, and make
Yeah.
a really fun independent B movie, and
Absolutely.
it blow up in the theater. I mean,
Absolutely. I feel like there's a lot of fear of risk taking now
absolutely.
when it comes to blockbuster entertainment. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And that sucks because you'd rather rehash the same stuff you gave us 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because you're afraid to take a chance on this unknown project that could potentially hit. But how do you know unless you try it?
Right.
All that, y'all could write it off. No one's ever losing money in Hollywood.
No,
The movie studios are gonna make their money back regardless.
Regardless, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no real loss there.
No,
You know?
and I would rather have 10, let's say, indie comic movies that are $5 million budgets than one mainstream movie at a $50 million budget. I'd rather have that variety,
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
and one of those is going to hit. If not, at least
Absolutely.
multiple will hit and still make you that $50-100 million.
Absolutely, man.
So-
if you put 5 together, they may not all hit, but you'll get at least 2 that's gonna
Yep.
hit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
agreed.
Even at the very least, most of them will probably at the very least break even. You know what I'm
They'll break-
saying?
Yeah, they'll all make money. I would
Exactly.
say. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel so too. And you don't even need the movie theaters for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people really, after COVID, how many people really go to the movies? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I've been to the movies so many times after COVID. I haven't been to a packed theater yet.
Yeah, no, I've only gone a handful of times. I'm very selective on what I go see in the theater now.
Yeah. I went to see the last Spider-Man movie that came out in theaters. Pre-COVID, man, everyone was in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Now I went the first day
And it
in
was-
Times Square, and there was still a lot of seats available.
That's crazy.
Like, they're not even that packed anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, a lot of the distribution channels we're used to, it's no longer the main resource now. Just like with music,
Oh, yeah.
record labels are just as useless now because we could distribute on our own. I don't need to sign to Atlantic, Def Jam, or whatever to get my music out. It costs me $20 a year to have my own distribution network and get it on Spotify, Apple Music, and things like that. These big conglomerates are no longer needed. They just have the money. But sometimes you don't even need that kind of budget. People get together with a camera. Somebody knows how to edit. Someone knows how to do that. You put a collective team of creatives together, and they'll put a better movie together than most of these Hollywood things.
Yeah, it's like this whole grassroots now that, I mean, our phones have better cameras than,
Absolutely.
It's crazy. So, it's
Absolutely.
The,
You can shoot a movie. What's that movie? That last movie that came out, the 28 days from that 28 days.
Oh, yeah.
They
28
filmed
years
this,
later?
they had a rig of iPhone cameras. They filmed this on iPhone cameras. So, that just shows you don't need $1 million setup.
No.
You got an iPhone. You know what you're doing. You're good to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're good to go. And I feel like this is something they should focus on. And because we could put this together ourselves, I mean, depending on the kind of story you're putting together, unless you know CGI and all that stuff, and you got superheroes, that's a little different. But traditionally, they could put together a bunch of these independent stories on very low budgets. And make a bigger profit opposed to like a Batman movie, a Marvel movie, a Spider-Man movie, because the cost is more. These actors, you got to pay them millions anyway.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most of the budget is going on them.
And you look at I look at the old Tim Burton Batman, and it's like that had no special effects. Like they did matte paintings. A lot of it was practical. and it was regarded as one of the best Batman movies ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
exactly.
you don't need it.
You don't. Yeah, you don't need all the fancy, the pizzazz with CGI and all that practical, which is how they've been doing it since day one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And how many great movies have come out before we had CGI or anything like that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a will, there's a way. They'll get it done.
Yep.
Look at George Lucas and Star Wars. Man,
Wow.
ain't even the technology wasn't even there yet.
Yeah.
When you watch it, it's like, whoa, how the hell did they do this in the 70s?
Yeah. He
you know
made
what I'm
that
saying?
happen. Yeah.
If you're ambitious enough, you could make something happen with just what you have in front of you, man. You know, and I feel like that's the biggest mark that Hollywood is missing out on. You want to make some good money, bigger profits, smaller budget. This is where y'all need to be looking, you know, because a lot of the stories we put together may not need much to film. You know what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of people they'd rather get something new. You know, like don't get me wrong, I love going to watch the superhero movies, the Marvels and DCs, but it's like constantly, it's pretty much the same. You know,
it's a lot of rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's all you're getting. You know, and I want something new. I want something fresh. You know, something out of the box, something creative. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like you're just giving us a lot of the same shit. You're just rehashing it all over again, you know? Like, and then they compare, oh, this Superman was better than that Superman, and this Superman, that Batman, and because y'all gave us so many. You know,
it was like 10.
like Jesus Christ, like I don't even know who's the next who gonna be anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, maybe my baby moms would be the next Superman. I don't know what's happening now.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a lot to
yeah, you know, and I feel like, you know, right now, creators like yourself, me, we're in the best position to be in right now, because I feel like if we keep going the way we're going within the next couple of years, and I feel like the eyes will get turned this way, because it's how long can you give us the same crap? You know what I'm saying? You know,
that's interesting, and that's why I really tried with my stories to take something that's maybe familiar and really try to be creative and different about it. You know, to kind of bring in Luke a little bit, like the way my fairies and vampires are, like it's not traditional by any sense of the means. You know, the fairies are kind of on the top of the food scale, and the vampires are the scum. They're like the ones that are trying to like scratch tooth and nail to find, you know, to do to be a vampire in a way, and they weren't always that way, and that's the thing that, like, you take something familiar, you try to be creative about it. You know, there's a lot of vampire stories out there, but trust me, if you read Luke, you're gonna learn something that you're gonna read that it's different and creative. You know, and it's just not the same thing.
Imagine that on Netflix or on Paramount or something. You know, like.
This could totally be a Netflix show. Like, Luke could absolutely be like a Netflix show. Exactly. It'd be rated R. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, that's fine.
But it low practical effects. You know, low budget.
Exactly.
Because it's just all people interacting with stuff, right? And going to different locations and some action sequences. A little bit of it's a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoy what I do. I think, you know, I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can, as long as there's a fan support. Yeah.
100%, man. You got it, you know, you already got your sauce going. Keep it up, man. You got the fans. You could only go up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, you could only grow bigger from where you are. You know what I mean? And that's more power to you, man. I'm finally glad I got you on the show. We've been talking about it. Going back from like February, you know, and it's funny because on March 20th, I was like, wait a minute, you told me to message him today because I saw you had just posted up your Kickstarter for Luke. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, what's today? March 20th. You told me to hit him up. I'm like, hey, today's March 20th.
And I'm thinking June, July, we'll probably launch issue 4. We're almost done with issue 4 already. So,
nice.
I mean, we're just rolling along.
Yeah, you cook it, and that's great to see, man. And I love to see, you know, the independents do their thing, man. It's this is why I do the podcast, and I'm trying to do as much as I can to just give different outlets. Like, I started I haven't seen an indie buy and sell trade group. So many for the big comics.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
oversaturated, but not one for indies. And sometimes people don't meet their Kickstarter goals, and that's fine. You got your books already done, different outlet. You got people here. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people didn't know about the Kickstarter, the algorithm, or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you also have an additional channel. You might not have a website. Things like that. And I want to see everyone live. I want to see everyone get as much of the pie as they can, and every day I'm just trying to do something new to do something. You know what I'm saying? Do something for the community, man, because this is what I love, and I love those that feel the same way, because art is art. I don't care if you're comic books or you're writing novels, you're painting portraits, you're making music. Art is art, and art is expression. And and I feel like we always put a little bit of ourselves into our work. But on that note, I definitely want to thank you for joining us today, man. It was a great conversation having you on here. I'm definitely gonna have your links on in the description below, and make sure you guys check this out, man. See it for yourself. I'm not talking shit. This is some great work.
Thank you.
Artwork is captivating just off, first impressions are right there. You know what I'm saying? The first impressions, he got it, and trust me, make sure you guys follow and throw him some money, because he's got some great work.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and always willing to sit around and talk about indie comics.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. And just maybe I could be on your show one day,
Anytime.
But on that note, Todd, thanks for joining us today. And I'll keep you posted. I'll tag you and everything once it goes up. Today's Wednesday. It'll probably be up Friday. And and then I wish you nothing. Well, actually, you already made your goal on that, so there you go. I was gonna say, I hope you make your Kickstarter, but you did it in what, 24 hours, 48 hours?
Yeah. I'm looking to get that second stretch goal so we can get them stickers released.
That's a blessing. I'm hoping I can make my Kickstarter goal in 24 hours.
Well, once you're ready to go, let me know, and we'll have you on my show.
Absolutely. But once again, thank you for joining us, Todd, and I will keep you posted. And have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Show. You already know, man. That was another dope episode. Big shout out to Todd Rayner for joining us today, man. Make sure you check out his Kickstarter campaign. Check out his websites. Links are going to be below. He's got some dope work, some great stories, man. Make sure we show him some love. And once again, check out the website, villainarchives.com. Stay up to date with everything we got going on. And on that note, it is your boy Mal, and I'm out. Bang, bang.